So let's break down a really important legal idea, contractual duress. Have you ever felt like you were completely forced to sign something? Well, by the end of this, you'll know exactly when that feeling crosses a real legal line, separating a tough deal from an illegal one.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That feeling of being totally backed into a corner where it feels like you have no other choice but to just sign ... I bet we've all felt some version of that. And that feeling, that's right at the heart of what we're talking about today.
Okay, so to really get a handle on duress, we have to start with a word we all know and deal with every day: pressure. Let's dig into how this totally normal, everyday thing can escalate into something with serious legal teeth.
Right, so pressure is just everywhere. It's in every negotiation, every sales pitch, heck, even just trying to decide where to get dinner with friends. It's the normal push and pull of life, and it's almost always perfectly legal, but it's our starting point for this whole conversation.
And this is where things get really interesting, because the law steps in and draws a very clear line in the sand. It recognizes that, yeah, some pressure is just business, but other kinds of pressure can completely destroy the whole idea of a fair agreement.
So here it is, the official definition. Now, notice the key words here. It starts with pressure, we all know what that is, but its goal is to coerce. And coercion isn't just trying to persuade someone. Oh no. It's about completely overwhelming their will to the point where they feel like they have no other reasonable choice. It's the huge difference between being convinced and being compelled.
Okay, so we've got pressure, and that pressure turns into coercion. But even that isn't always enough to get you out of a contract. The law has one more really important test that this pressure has to pass. It's what we call the illegitimate threshold.
This is it. This is the whole ballgame right here. Only illegitimate pressure. The pressure can't just be strong. It has to be wrongful. It has to be something the law says, nope, that's not an acceptable way to negotiate. That word, illegitimate, is everything.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. Over on the left, you've got legitimate bargaining. And look, that can be tough, it can be aggressive, maybe even a little uncomfortable. Think of a supplier saying, hey, if you don't agree to this new price, we're going to have to take our business somewhere else. That's hardball, but it's legal. But then on the right, you have illegitimate pressure. And that's threatening something unlawful, like refusing to honor a contract you already have unless the other person agrees to new stuff. One is just tough business, the other is breaking the rules of the game.
So, you're probably wondering, okay, but who decides what's illegitimate and what's not? Well, this rule wasn't just pulled out of thin air. Like a lot of these big legal ideas, it was hammered out and defined in the courts over time.
Exactly. This isn't just some theory from a textbook. It's a real rule, with a real history, a specific origin that gives it its power in our legal system today. And here's a classic example for you: Smith versus William Sharlick Limited. In this case, you had a wheat board that had a total monopoly. They basically threatened to cut off a miller completely unless the miller paid an extra fee they didn't actually owe. The court said, no way, that was illegitimate pressure. Why? Because they were using their dominant position to force a payment. This case helped build the foundation for how we think about economic duress even now, almost a century later.
Okay, let's pull all these threads together. We've seen the building blocks, right? From simple, everyday pressure all the way to that critical legal test of legitimacy. Let's nail this down into one clear, final takeaway.
You know, when you really boil it down, it's a simple three-step process. First, you have to have pressure. Second, that pressure has to be so intense that it becomes coercion. It takes away any real choice you have. And third, and this is the most important one, that pressure has to be illegitimate. It has to be a wrongful threat. So, pressure, coercion, illegitimacy. That is the formula.
And that's what I want to leave you with. While the law gives us this framework, the real world, well, it's often a bit gray, isn't it? So think about your own world, your own business deals. Where do you draw the line between just driving a hard bargain and crossing over into illegitimate pressure? It's a huge question, and now you've got the legal tools to start answering it.